I kid you not. My phone camera is not doing justice to this dress. Oh my god, you need to see the color, you need to see the detailing. Everything is superb, but my camera is not doing justice, like I said. So we'll just move on with the video. Hello guys, welcome back again to my YouTube channel. My name is Dorothy. In today's video, I'm going to be showing you how to draft this beautiful bustier structured dress with this trendy ruffle sleeve. If this looks like something you're interested in, make sure you watch this video to the very end so you don't miss out on any detail or explanation. And if you're coming across this channel for the first time and you haven't subscribed, let me just tell you, you're not part of the family yet. So to be part of the family, hit that subscribe button, turn on your bell notification so that you will get notified when I drop new video. Now let's get started with this video. I will be using this beautiful Mikado fabric for this tutorial, and what I'm having here is 3 yard. I didn't use the entire 3 yard because you know the dress is quite short, so I used 2 yard instead. And I also have lining piece that I'll be using to line in the dress. So now I'm just going to keep this aside while we cut out the portion that we're going to use to draft the skirt part. So guys, I've already cut out the portion that I'll be using to draft the front skirt piece, and as you can see, this is already folded into 2. So now the first thing I'm going to do, I'm just going to use my ruler to roll an horizontal line at this top here. Now this horizontal line is going to serve as the waistline. Okay, so go ahead and do the same thing. Place your ruler just the way you see me doing. Roll an horizontal line like this that will serve as your waistline or your starting line. After rolling the starting line, the next thing I'm going to do is to place my measuring tape on this starting line or this waistline, and I'm going to come down by my hip length measurement. Normally from my waist to my hip is 9 inches, but because this dress is kind of structured around the hip area, I removed one from the 1 inch, so I came up by 8 inches instead, and I make a mark. If you don't want to place your measuring tape the way I just did, you can as well place your measuring tape like this. Okay, since it's a dress, from my shoulder to my waistline is 17 inches, so I just placed the 17 inches on this skirt waistline. Then I came down by my hip length measurement, which I have already marked. So the next thing I'm going to do is to measure the length of the dress. Since this is a short dress, the length I will be working with is 38 inches, and I make a mark. For some obvious reasons, my camera stopped capturing, so I have to make it work again. That is why you didn't see me when I marked the length of the dress. So I'll be working with a length of 38 inches, like I said. After that, I'm just going to use my ruler to connect all these points I have marked in a horizontal line. Go ahead and do the same thing. Mark all your vertical points, but make sure you remove 1 inch or 1.5 inch from your hip length measurement so that you can have that structure. If you mark your exact hip length measurements, that structure is going to come down a bit, so you need to remove 1 inch or 1.5 inch so that the structure will sit perfectly at the hip area. Then mark your normal dress length, the exact dress length you want to work with, and after that you're just going to use a ruler to connect all the points in a horizontal line. Now the next thing we are going to do is to mark the body measurement, and the only body measurement we are going to be marking here is the waist measurement. So I will simply divide my waist measurement by 4, then I'll mark it here on the waistline. Okay, this is my waistline. This dress has a kind of dart, but it's a long dart, so I added 1 inch extra for the dart. You can do 1.5 inch, that is, you can do 0.75 on both sides. Now this is what I wanted this dress to be. That is the initial plan. I wanted a corset. So when I was drafting this skirt part, I just measure my actual waistline with the dart. I didn't add any sewing allowance, which is the actual corset pattern drafting. But here on the hip line, I measure quarter of my hip circumference measurement, then I added 4 extra inches to it because of the structure, and I also did the same thing here. on the length. What I marked on my hip line is the same thing I am marking on the length. Now, after marking all the body measurements, I'm just going to use my ruler to connect this point from the length of the dress to the hip, just the way you see me doing like this. And I'm also going to place the cuff part of my ruler and connect from the hip line to the waistline, just the way you see me do. As we proceed with this video, I'm going to tell you how I turned this into a bustier dress instead of the corset that I had in mind. Now I'm just going to use my scissors to cut this out. Now, to eliminate this sharp edge on the side, I'm just going to come up by 2 inches and I will make a mark. After that, I'm just going to place my ruler like this and I will connect the point just the way you see me doing. After that, I will use my scissors to cut it out. After cutting it out, this is what it should look like. So now I'm just going to keep the front piece aside. Then I will fold another pieces of fabric that we are going to use to draft the back pieces. So here is the pieces of fabric that we are going to be using to draft the back pattern, and as you can see, this fabric is already folded into 2. The next thing we're going to do is to bring the front piece, place it on the back piece like this, just the way you see me doing. At the center back, you're going to leave some allowance, that is zipper allowance, that we are going to use to fix the zipper. Now your zipper allowance can be 1 inch, 1.5 inch or 2 inches. Now the zipper allowance I am working with here is 1.5 inch. Okay, so I measured this from top to bottom to make sure that it's accurate. Now at the back piece, I'm going to extend the length at the center back, not the side, by 3 inches. You can do 4 inches if you want. I'm extending the length at the back because of the bum bum. So if you don't have bum bum like that, you can just do 2 inches. Okay, but if you have a huge bum bum, you can do 4 inches. For me, I'm working with 3 inches. So after marking that point, I'm just going to use my curve ruler to connect the point all the way to the side like this. It's only at the center back that you're going to increase the length. At the side, it's going to be equal with the side front. Okay, so after connecting the point, I'm just going to use my scissors to cut it out just the way you see me doing. Every other thing is equal with the front piece except for the back length that we had to increase. When you put on this dress after making it, you will discover that if you did not increase the length at the center back, your bum bum is going to raise up the dress, which might reveal some cleavage and you might not be comfortable. But when you add to the length at the center back, that length that we add is going to help reduce how the whole thing is going to look like. I hope you understand what I am trying to say. Now, to eliminate any form of zipper bulge on the waistline, I'm going to come in by 1 inch and I'm going to make a mark. After that, I'm going to use my straight ruler, that is the straight part of my ruler, place it like this, just the way you see me doing in a slanted form. Then I'm going to use my chalk to connect these points all the way down like this. After that, I'm just going to use my scissors to cut it out. Then I will open the remaining part of the zipper allowance. After I was done with the zipper allowance, the next thing we need to do is to mark the dart. And if you see from the thumbnail very well, the dart is going to be long all the way down to the length of the skirt. So what I did is on the waistline, I mark my nipple to nipple measurement divided by 2, which is 3.5. Then from that point that I marked 3.5, I came down by 4.5 inches for the length of the dart. This is where the dart drawing is going to stop, but you're going to take the straight line all the way down to the length of the skirt. So now I'm just going to use my ruler to connect these 2 points on a straight line. Then for the dart leg, I went on to mark 1/2 inch on both sides. You can do 0.75 on both sides, which is still okay. I left 1 inch dart allowance, so I'm just going to stick to that. After I was done marking 0.5 on both sides, I'm just going to place my ruler like this, then connect my dart, which is going to give us a kind of a triangular shape. Now I'm just going to turn this over, then I will use my scissors to notch the dart point. Now I'm just going to separate the back pieces from the front pieces because I want to connect the dart point to the length. So I went on to open up my front piece like this. Then I'm going to use my straight ruler to connect this dart point all the way down to the length like this. So this is exactly how I'm going to cut out the dart. Remember, I left sewing allowance for the dart. I'm going to keep this front piece aside because I need to draw the dart for the second side of this front piece. But before I do that, I'm going to use these front pieces to work on the back pieces first. So I went on to fold my front piece like this. I went on to fold it into two back again like this. Then I'm going to bring my back pieces. I'll place my front pieces on it. Now I'm going to use my ruler to highlight the zipper allowance. Okay, if you did not notch your zipper allowance, just go ahead and do what I am just doing to get the accurate measurement. After connecting my zipper allowance like this, then from the zipper allowance, that is the center back, I'm just going to mark my dart. Now from the center back, I'm just going to remark half of my nipple to nipple measurement. The notching I did when I marked my nipple to nipple measurement is kind of faint, so that's why I am retaking it again so that I don't make mistake. After marking half of my nipple to nipple measurement, the next thing I'm going to do is to measure the dart leg, which I'm going to still use 0.5 on both sides. Then for the dart length, I'll be working with 4.5 inches. I mark that. After that, I'm just going to use my ruler to connect it like this. Then I will cut this out just the way you see me doing. This is what I have after I was done cutting. Now to sew this, I'm going to pick one of these pieces, place it on the right side of this bigger piece, right side facing each other. Then I'm going to go over to the sewing machine and I'm going to run a stitch all the way down and I will iron it. Then I will do the same thing to the other side as well. Pick this smaller piece, place it on the bigger one like this, take it over to the sewing machine and I'm going to run a stitch from top all the way down to the length. After that, I'm going to iron it. Now let's finish up with the front piece. So I'm just going to bring back my front piece now. You know that I did not mark the dart on the other side, so I'm just going to do that right away. So at the waistline here, I'm going to mark half of my nipple to nipple measurement. Then the length of the dart I am working with is 4.5 inches and I'm just going to mark that. Now I'm going to use my ruler to connect the 2 points together like this. You know that this line is going to go all the way down to the length. Okay, let's mark the dart leg first. For the dart leg, I'm going to be marking 1/2 inch on both sides, just the way you see me doing. After marking 1/2 inch on both sides, I'm just going to extend the dart line all the way down to the length of the skirt. And I'm also going to create my dart just like this. Now I'm going to open up the front piece and I'm just going to cut it out. So after cutting this out, this is what I will do. I'll place the center on one of the side, right side facing each other, head over to the sewing machine and I'm going to join it together. After that, I'm going to join the other one. After I am done sewing, I'm going to use my pressing iron to open the stitch allowance. So guys, we're basically done drafting the skirt pattern. Moving on, we are going to be drafting the upper bodies. So guys, I have my pattern paper here and already I've gone ahead to roll a line, this horizontal line, and this line is going to serve as our starting line or our shoulder line. So here on the starting line, the first thing we are going to do is to mark the neckline measurement. For the neck width, we will be working with 3 inches, while for the neck depth, we will be working with 3 inches as well. After that, I'm just going to use my curve ruler to connect the 2 points together to create a round neckline. Mind you, this is not the neckline we are going to be working with. We are going to alter this neckline later, okay? After marking out my neckline measurement, the next thing we are going to do is to mark half of the shoulder measurement. So half of my shoulder measurement here is 7.5 inches. Now on this point I marked 7.5 inches. I'm going to come down by 8 inches for my armhole length measurement. Okay, after that I'm just going to use my ruler to connect the 2 points together on a straight line. This straight line here is the armhole line. If you don't know how to go about your armhole line measurement, you're simply going to divide your bust circumference by 6 plus 1.5 inches. Now whatever figure that gives you, that is your armhole line measurement. Then I will extend this line horizontally like this. This horizontal line is going to serve as my chest line. Now to slanten the shoulder on this armhole line, I'm going to come down by 1/2 inch. This 1/2 inch measurement works perfectly for me. After marking this 1/2 inch point, I'm just going to place my straight ruler like this, and I will connect this point to the neck width. Now to create the armhole, I'm going to measure what I have left on the armhole line after taking out my shoulder slant. Then I will divide it by 2 by bending my measuring tape like this, and I will mark the midpoint. Now to eliminate any form of bulkiness around the armhole, I'm just going to come in by 1/2 inch. Then here on the chest line, I'm going to mark 1/4 of my bust circumference measurement. That is, I will divide my bust circumference measurement by 4 and I will mark it right here. Now I'm going to use my curve ruler to connect these 3 points together to create the armhole curve. Now let's mark all the vertical points. So I'm just going to place my measuring tape on the starting line like this. Then I will mark my bust point, which is 10 inches, my under bust point, which is 30.5 inches, and the waistline. The waistline for my front is 17 inches. I marked that, but for the back is not 17, it's 15. If you're not new on this channel, you know what I am talking about. If you are new, please go and watch my previous video on pattern drafting. I will leave the link of the video in the description box. So after marking all the vertical points, I'm just going to extend what I marked before, come down by my bust point, my under bust point, and my waistline. After that, I'm just going to use my straight ruler to connect all these points I have marked horizontally like this. So go ahead and do the same thing. Mark all your vertical points accurately, and after you are done with that, you're just going to connect all that points in the horizontal line like this. So let me just label all this line that I have wrote. So here is the chest line, here is the shoulder line or the starting line, then here is the chest line, here is the bust point, here is the under bust point, and here is the waistline. Okay, and moving on, next we are going to be marking half of our nipple to nipple measurement, and half of the nipple to nipple measurement I am working with is 3.5 inches, but I added 1/2 inch to it. Okay, so here on the bust point I'm going to mark 4 inches. On the under bust I'm going to mark the same 4 inches, and also here on the waistline I'm also going to mark the same 4 inches. After that, I'm just going to use my ruler to connect all of these points I have marked on a straight line, and this straight line is the dart line. Okay, now I'm going to mark my actual neckline measurement. So from the starting line I'm going to come down by 7 inches. You can do 6 inches, you can do 8 inches depending on what you want. If you do 8 inches, you're going to reveal a lot of cleavages, and if you do 6 inches, your cleavage might not show. So after marking that point, I'm just going to connect the line in a horizontal line like this. So what I'm going to do next is to extend this dart line to the actual neckline measurement. Moving on, the next thing we are going to do is to mark our dart. So on the under bust right here, on the center front, I'm going to come out by 1/2 inch and I'll mark that. While on the side, I'm going to go out by 1.5 inch and I'm going to make a mark. Now I'm going to use my ruler to connect this point all the way down to the waistline. I will do this for the side front, that I will connect this 1.5 inch point all the way to the waistline, and I will also do the same thing for the center front. I will connect this 1/2 inch all the way to the waistline. Now after doing that, on the bust point I'm going to come down by 1/2 inch and I will make a mark. Then I will also go up on this bust point by 1/2 inch and I will make a mark. Now I'm just going to place my ruler like this and connect all these points just the way you see me doing. Now on this neckline, we need to tighten it up to avoid gaping. So on the side front I went out by 1/2 inch, then on the center I came in by 1/2 inch. You can do 0.5 inches, okay, depending on what you want. So after making the mark, I'm just going to connect this point all the way to this point that I went up by 1/2 inch on the bust point. I hope you understand what I am doing. So go ahead and connect the points together like this. After creating our dart, if you measure all this dart line that I just draw, you will discover that the center front is shorter than the side front if you measure it accurately. So right now I'm going to measure this so that you see what we have. So when I measure this first dart from the top all the way down to the waistline, I have 10 inches, and when I measure the side one, that is the second dart, I have 10.5 inches. So the side dart is longer by half an inch. So on this first dart, I'm just going to increase the length by half an inch. Then I will extend the dart line to that point. After that, I'm just going to use my ruler to redraw the line like this. After drawing that line, this dart on the side, I'm going to place my curve ruler like this and connect this dart all the way to the armhole, just like this. So make sure you place your curve ruler just the way you see me do, then connect that dart line all the way to the armhole. So for this dress, we'll not be needing the armhole anymore. It's a bustier dress. So after rolling that line, I'm just going to blend it in like this. So now we are basically done with our dart and every other thing. So the next thing we are going to be working on is to mark the body measurement. So I have already marked my bust measurement on the chest line, so there is no need to mark it on the bust point again. So on the waistline, I'm just going to mark quarter of my waist circumference measurement. After marking that, I'm just going to measure the dart that I took, and when I did that, I had 2 inches. So this dart, I'm just going to replace it back on the waistline. After marking my body measurement, I'm just going to use my ruler to connect the side. Now let's mark the side dart. On the bust point line like this, I'm going to come down by 2 inches and I'm going to make a mark. I'm sure you all know how we come about the 2 inches. If you don't know, it is the difference in measurements from the shoulder to the waistline in front and from the shoulder to the waistline at the back. Now the shoulder to the waistline in front is usually longer than that of the back because of the boobs. So from my shoulder to my waist in front, it's 17 inches, while from my shoulder to my waist at the back is 15 inches. So 17 minus 15, we have 2 inches. So that's how we come about the 2 inches here. So make sure when you are drafting yours, you use your body measurements. Don't follow what I did. After that, I'm just going to use my ruler to connect this point to the bust point like this. Now the next thing we are going to do is to use the scissors to cut this side dart, and after we are done cutting it, we're just going to cover it up like this. We'll be covering the dart. So I'll be using my water glue to hold this together. If you have a maxing tape, go ahead and use it. So this is how I'm going to be covering it, and you can see that the bust is already forming. So guys, this is what I have after I was done covering the side dart. And when I covered this side dart, the line, this side line is no longer equal. So I will have to use my ruler to redraw the line again. So I just placed my ruler like this, then I went ahead to use my marker to redraw the line, and that's pretty much about it. We are done drafting the front pattern. So the next thing we are going to do is to cut this out. So guys, these are my front pattern. So the next thing I'm going to do is to label them. This is the center front and this is the side front. So I'm just going to keep these front pieces aside while we draft the back pieces. This is the pattern that I'll be using for my back. As you can see, I've ruled a line which is going to serve as the starting line, and this line here is my zipper allowance. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is to mark my neckline measurement. I'll be using the standard neckline measurement, which is for the width I'll be marking 3 inches, while for the depth I will be working with 1.5 inches. After that, I'm just going to place my curve ruler like this, then I will connect the 2 points together to create a round neckline. Then I will also extend that line to the zipper allowance. Okay, moving on, next I'm going to place my measuring tape like this, and I'm going to mark half of my shoulder measurement. Now half of my shoulder measurement is 7.5 inches. Then at that point I'm just going to place my measuring tape like this, and I'll come down by 8 inches and I will make a mark. Now I'm going to use my ruler to connect the 2 points together like this to create the armhole line. Okay, this straight line here is the armhole line. Then I will also extend this line horizontally like this, and this horizontal line is the chest line. So guys, I'm basically repeating what I did for my front pattern. So to create the shoulder slant on the armhole line, I'll come down by 1/2 inch. Then I'll place my measuring tape like this and connect that point to the neck width. Now I'm going to measure what I have left on my armhole line. Okay, so when I measure what I have left on my armhole line, I'm going to divide it by bending my measuring tape like this. Then I will mark the midpoint. Then after that, on the chest line, I'm going to simply divide my bust circumference measurement by 4. That is 1/4 of my bust circumference, and I'm going to mark it here on the chest line. Now I'm going to place my curve ruler like this and connect the point together to create the armhole curve. So now let's mark all the vertical points. I'll place the measuring tape on the shoulder line or starting line. Then I'll come down by 10 inches for the bust point. Then from the shoulder line, I will come down by 15 inches for the waistline. Okay, once I'm done marking all those points, I'm just going to use my ruler to connect the point into a horizontal line, just like this. At this point, NEPA just sees the light. Oh my god, these people when will they change? After marking the vertical point, the next thing we are going to do is to reduce the zipper bulge. So here on the waistline, I'm going to come in by 1 inch. Then I will use my ruler to connect the points to the neckline, just like this. I have successfully reduced the zipper bulge, so later I'm going to remark the zipper allowance. So here on the waistline, I'm just going to mark half of my nipple to nipple measurement, which is 3.5 inches. My nipple to nipple measurement is 7 divided by 2 is 3.5. After that, I'm just going to place my ruler like this, then connect that point all the way to the bust point. Now the next thing I'm going to do is to mark my neckline measurement. So from the starting line, I'm just going to come down by 7 inches, and this totally depends on how deep you want your back to be. So I'll be working with 7 inches, and I mark that in 2 places so that I can get the line correctly. After that, I'm just going to use my ruler to connect the line in a horizontal line like this, and also I will be extending my dart line up to the new neckline measurement like this. Now the next thing we are going to do is to mark our dart leg. So here on the waistline, I'll be working with 0.5 inches, that is 1/2 inch on both sides, so I mark that. And here on the neckline, that is this neckline right here, I'll be working with just 1/4 inch, that is 0.25 on both sides. After that, I'm just going to use my ruler to connect the points together just the way you see me doing. Now let's mark our zipper allowance. I'll be working with a zipper allowance of 1.5 inches. So here on the waistline, I mark the 1.5 inches. After marking that point, I'm just going to place my ruler like this and connect it to the neckline. So that's how you eliminate zipper bulge to give you that fitting at the back. After connecting the zipper allowance, the next thing is to just extend the line on the waistline and also on the bust point, and that's pretty much about it. Now let's mark the body measurement. You know, I've already marked 1/4 of my bust circumference on the chest line. So here on the waistline, I'm going to mark 1/4 of my waist circumference measurement. Then this dart that I took, I'm just going to measure it, then I will replace it. After that, I'm just going to use my ruler to connect the points like this. So guys, we are basically done drafting the back pattern, but before we cut out, I'm going to use my curve ruler to connect this dart on the neckline to the armhole, just like this. After that, I'm just going to cut this out. So guys, we are basically done drafting the pattern. So if you want, you can separate the dart by cutting through it. If you don't, like me, I'm going to leave my own like this. I will cut it together with the fabric, then sew the dart when I am sewing. And again, you need to take notes when you're done drafting. Make sure you measure the side, that is the side front and the side back together. If they are both equal, then you are good to go. If not, you can adjust. Okay, then I went on to label this, and that's pretty nothing much about it. As you can see, this video is already too long, so in my next video we'll be sewing the dress. For now, bye. I will see you all in my next video.